Today because just a moment ago, meteorologist Jim Weber and I were looking at the dew points in our neck of the woods. Here in Tampa, we had a dew point of 74 degrees just moments ago at our sensor site, and that puts us basically on the border or cusp of that oppressive category. Other spots also feeling that high humidity, and I do think that we're going to stick with those above average feels like temperatures here for the short term and potentially the long term. So we'll look at the 7-day forecast here in just a moment. The heat index showing spots like Wesley Chapel, Bradenton right around 100 degrees or more for a heat index. Brandon at 98, Tampa 94, 97 in Wauchula, Arcadia, and Northport. And remember, this is what that humid air is going to make it feel like as you step outside during these peak heating hours later on this evening. Thankfully, we'll ease off the throttle, but the humidity is not going to drop substantially into tonight. Dew point tracker, in fact, shows things getting a little bit higher. Look at that into Monday and Tuesday. This graph, if anything, goes up all the way through Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. That places those dews back in the mid-70s and just a more humid feel than what we had for a lot of last week. Now, the big picture shows a big area of high pressure, and that's going to just create a sinking pattern on top of us. It's going to keep from not just any rain chances for us, but also any chances for thick cloud cover to block out the sunshine from time to time. We will have days with a few more clouds than others, but likely no mostly cloudy conditions for the short term. And tomorrow afternoon's forecast under partly cloudy skies, still we get back to the 90s. 93 in Tampa, 97 in Bartow, 96 in Frostproof. It's one of these stretches of weather that along the coast, if you're planning on heading out to the beach or inland, maybe you have practice for whatever sport you've got, you got to stay hydrated and plan accordingly. This is going to catch you off guard if you're thinking about earlier this week where we had a lot of cloud cover and a lot of block from the sunshine. Not necessarily the case moving forward. If anything, the UV index is still staying in the very high category as well, and temperatures are just looking awfully repetitive. I mean, I can't remember when the bar graphs have looked this comical from Saturday through Tuesday. A big string of 93s. Jokingly, we call this a copy and paste forecast because hardly anything is changing day after day for us. 93 for a high and still above average in terms of where we should be for this time of the year. That white line on the screen in the next 10 days of your forecast shows where that temperature should be at, closer to the 80s. We're going to be flying into the 90s for most of this stretch and perhaps even getting warmer moving into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of the following weekend. Not this weekend. We'll be hot then too, but no immediate indications in sight that we're going to be bringing things back below average anytime soon. Now, this is an interesting chart. I'm going to pull myself off the screen so you get a better look at this. The previous 4 days, we had a nice little stretch of temperatures that were below average following the cold front. And let's just call it what it is, the washout that we had to start the week. Temperatures were down to the mid to low 80s, and that blue color indicates that we were below average with our highs. We returned to above average lengths yesterday afternoon at 91 degrees for a high, and I think moving onward, let's fill this in and all the way through here. I wouldn't be surprised if we keep a little red streak going as May is shaping up to be just a hot month by all measurable lengths and extents. The amount of rain that we saw during that little period, though, made up for just about what we'd expect for the entirety of the month. Roughly 2 to 2.5 inches were reported here in downtown Tampa, including a daily rainfall record on Monday with 1.62 inches being reported over at the airport. That was enough to put a dent in the drought monitor. That's what we'll say. No big drought buster, but did bring several spots out of the extreme and severe categories into the moderate zones. There's the outlook from a week ago there on the left side of the screen. And notice the reds and oranges retreating farther to the south. Where Southwest Florida, they saw some heavy rain, but not quite as much as us. And then up into the north and east, out toward Daytona Beach. They got a big improvement there with that new updated drought monitor. Either way, rainy season is coming. It's going to be just a few weeks away, and that's when our pattern's really going to take off. Daily rain chances will make this graphic obsolete, and that will indicate the start of rainy season, where our attention's going to be more on the flooding situation. Well, you're getting a preview here of our camera. In a moment, we'll try and guess where that sky camera is located. I meant to put that a little bit later on in the show, but you got a preview there. Maybe you already know. More on that in just a moment. 4-box live camera showing our neck of the woods and spots like Raymond James Stadium, Tampa International Airport, 2 days ago, we at least had some clouds to show, but now no cloud cover here. Steinbrenner Field also looking a little bit hazy there in the distance because of the higher humidity. You sometimes get that look to the sky on our cameras in the low levels of the atmosphere, also with the high pressure system that's currently overhead. Serrata Beach, more folks out there on the beach, but just another hot one. I think we'll be seeing more and more people in the water versus just walking along the beach like several of our campers have shown the past few weeks, and that's just because the heat. You're going to need to hop in those cooler waters, relatively speaking, to try and quickly cool down, because I can even attest, just going to my car a moment ago, I mean, you really feel the heat. Now, of course, I was wearing a jacket, so it didn't take very long, but temperatures will be in those mid to low 90s for the next 3 to 4 days, at least of the forecast. Things are going to be looking just like this with the mostly sunny skies. In the next 5 days of rainfall, there will be a chance at a passing shower or two, but those chances will be awfully low. Next 5 days here on your screen, I mean, that's Wednesday that we're looking at for even a chance. Coverage is not very high, and confidence that far out with just spot showers is never particularly high either. So don't get too caught up in the prospect of seeing some showers in the immediate future. 10 to 15 days from now, we'll be closer to when we really bump up those rain chances into the beginning of June. June accounts for roughly 7.37 inches of rain on average for us here in Tampa. That number climbs in July and gets even higher into August. 9 inches of rain is what we typically see throughout the month of August here locally. Completely signifies the start of our rainy season, but until we get there, we're going to be dry heading into tonight as well. Winds will be relatively calm, 5 miles per hour or less for most of us. 75 degrees, a fair temperature for where we bottom out to here in Tampa. That'll happen around 1 to 2 a.m. and stay that way into the morning time, with lows along the coastline a little bit warmer than our friends farther inland. East of I-75, upper 60s, west, mid to low 70s. A few spots sneaking up there like St. Pete and Tampa at 76, but either way, mostly clear and mild moving into the morning time. 7-day forecast, we talked about the temperature change, just staying above average and maybe easing off the throttle a pinch as we go way down the pipeline. Rain chances will be hard to come by Wednesday into Thursday. More pop-up isolated showers along the coastline, not out of the question, but those chances only at 20%. So enjoy the dry stretch. If you do have any outdoor plans, maybe you want to try and head to the beach or just enjoy a pool day. Otherwise, lows will steadily climb into the upper 70s and maybe even 80s as we start next week's forecast as well. So here's our camera. We like to play a little Guess the Sky Cam. When we get back, we'll take more of a national approach and look at other cities and states and active weather patterns across the country. There's several headline grabbers today. This location is in the heart of one of them. That flash you saw on the screen was not a mistake. That was actually some lightning off in the distance. See if you can guess what city this is. When we return, I'll let you know, and also have a look at the weather that's going to be moving into that region there shortly. Well, thanks for sticking around. I want to get right into it. A quick update from the tropics. If you tuned in yesterday, you'll notice that the National Hurricane Center has begun reissuing their tropical weather outlooks and lets us know whether disturbances are forming or the position, I should say, of any tropical systems or cyclones that do develop. Now, this is ahead of the start of hurricane season. That begins June 1st, but occasionally we get some early season storms, so it's always warranted to go ahead and start issuing these a few weeks in advance. Yesterday, we were all clear, and as we look at the latest update, still nothing out there. The Gulf, the Caribbean, and out there in the deeper waters of the Atlantic, nothing expected to form. The Pacific could be a different story. We'll be watching for some signs of life well outside of the Atlantic, so no issues for us. But moving forward, we will be using this a lot. If you remember last year, we would occasionally have some little X's floating around out there and circles as to where they would be headed next. If you're reading a tropical outlook, each one of those X's that we will eventually be seeing are just areas of disturbed weather. As they move into the region of possible development, that shaded spot that the arrow points to, that's where it will have a chance to form into either a tropical depression, tropical storm, or subtropical system at some point in time. And of course, the percentages attached to that circle indicate the odds of development. As the odds get higher and higher, the color of that polygon will change, and so will the X. We go from yellow to orange to red. Think of it as a change in urgency with how quickly we think that this system will likely form. And these odds track not just the next 48 hours, but now the next 7 days. So we're able to look a little bit farther out into the future with odds of developing systems on the horizon. Now, tropical activity early in the season like this is not particularly on the higher side of things in terms of the strength of the storm or the activity that we normally see late May, early June. As we get into late June, July, August, we typically pick up our first 1 or 2 named storms of the season, although those are often weak. It's not until August into September and October that some of the stronger storms normally begin to form. They'll be a little bit more robust as they typically originate in that main development region. That area not open for business just yet. The ITCZ zone, a little bit too far south to get activity going. And additionally, we have a lot of wind shear out there that is suppressing activity in the short term, and even a bit of Saharan dust that we've been watching just propagating off of Africa and blanketing the mid and eastern sections of the Atlantic. We have 16 days until the official start of the hurricane season, so we'll just wait. If anything interesting occurs before then or any little disturbances pop up, we'll be the first to let you know. But until then, let's talk about some of the active weather happening in other parts of the country. I've been watching the skyline here in the distance just getting darker and darker because look at the clouds behind this one. See if you can guess the camera. Notice over here some heavy rain already beginning to fall in the distance. I believe we are looking due west in this shot, and if the landmark here in the center of your screen doesn't give it away, that correct answer is St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis right now in a tornado watch with storms that have already prompted several tornado warnings. There's been at least one confirmed tornado out there in that same system that's tracking across Missouri and Arkansas. All that pushing farther to the east and actually working into a better environment for storm development as we head into the evening time. There's the latest, a tornado watch all the way from eastern Oklahoma up into Missouri and Illinois is active until 7 p.m. A severe thunderstorm watch has been issued for Kentucky, farther east into eastern Tennessee and the Carolinas. And at the moment, the severe weather risk has remained the same. A moderate outlook by the Storm Prediction Center from St. Louis east to Cincinnati, down into Paducah, and cutting off around Clarksville, Tennessee, if you know where that's located. Memphis included within the 3 out of 5 outlook, and the primary concerns here, of course, tornadoes, with that also driving that moderate risk there, but the potential for damaging straight line winds and hail, with wind damage being the highest category that we're looking at here, as these storms look like they're going to become a little bit more organized and linear as we head into the evening time. And what that typically tells us as meteorologists is there could be some very powerful winds on the leading edge of those storms. Now, as these storms are initially forming, like here on the left side of the screen, they're usually a little bit more isolated. They're not all clumped together as they will be later on today, and that opens the door for the initial threat of tornadoes and hail. Already some active tornado warnings looking to the west here within that tornado watch. Some of the tornado-warned storms moving in the general direction of St. Louis, and that would likely be just after this show ends here, closer to 3:45, that would be pushing into that area. Farther to the south into Jonesboro, they could start to see some of those thunderstorms move into their neck of the woods next. Otherwise, off to the east, Nashville earlier this morning, just to the north of you, we had some thunderstorms pass. Those are now moving east out toward Knoxville, and actually Knoxville should likely be removed from this severe thunderstorm watch here within the next hour or so, as all of these are pushing into Roanoke and Charleston as we speak. Just some severe thunderstorms there with the tornado threat primarily on these storms to the farther western parts of the radar images that we were just looking at. Now, storm energy has been on the high side. Already bright reds there with temperatures climbing and the humidity not in question. We looked at the dew points a moment ago with dews in the mid-70s in that region. As we head into the evening time, look at all of that air flowing out of the south ahead of the cold front. That's going to be brought right up off the Gulf and into spots like Memphis, Houston, and up into Kentucky. Kentucky right there next to that low pressure system, which is also going to amplify the tornado threat as it slides through. All these things very interesting to watch moving forward, and because the energy is there, the shear is in the atmosphere to get some of these thunderstorms on the stronger side. The Fox model's just showing a big cluster in a straight line as we move into the later hours of tonight, swinging through Kentucky and Tennessee and eventually pushing farther east into the Appalachian Mountains as we head into the very early hours of tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow afternoon, the threat starts to shift back to the northeast. That low pressure system that I mentioned that's pushing through Kentucky is going to slide up to the north and getting closer to spots like Cincinnati and then eventually New York. A 1 out of 5 outlook is currently in place for them. Farther to the south and west, another robust system is expected to develop from Wichita down to Dallas and Memphis, and yet another 2 out of 5 outlook will be in place for them. Looking ahead here on the Fox model, you see the storms to the northeast first. Pay attention to them as they move through New York, Boston, then eventually up into Halifax next. Farther to the southwest, that's right around the time into the evening in Dallas and I believe eastern Oklahoma along the Fort Smith area. We're going to see another round of more powerful thunderstorms that replace the same spots that got hit earlier today by some of those heavier showers and storms that likely produced a little bit of hail as they rumbled through. So we go from one extreme to the other. Here's a live sky cam from downtown Tampa. The only thing I can say is blue, a lot of blue. And we're going to be seeing cameras with blue across the board heading into this evening. Maybe a passing cloud or two, but nothing that's going to produce any rain chances for us. Coming up, we'll take a look at some viewer photos and one last look at the 7-day. Also a beach forecast, just in case you do have any plans for this weekend. I've got you covered with red tide and how the marine forecast is shaping up as well. Well, thank you for sticking around. Before the break, I said we'd have some viewer photos to take a look at, and we're going to do something new this time. This is a new segment we're going to try and do called Critters and Clouds. These are various critters and clouds from across Florida that I've gotten photos and videos of sent in earlier this week and kind of compiled them together to take a look at on Fridays. This first one up, if you tuned in yesterday, we saw this one, a great shot sent in from Philip Metlin. This is out of Palm Beach, the sunrise looking like a postcard there with the silver lining in the distance looking like a pink lining with the clouds just right over the horizon. Meanwhile, this one we shared yesterday, but we actually got this last week. This is from Honeymoon Island State Park. A massive hammerhead shark. It's going to circle back. You'll get a better view of this, but this one, Captain Ryan Reynolds said this is one of the largest he's seen. They can get up to 18 to 19 feet, according to the FWC. Amazing animals, and it's a big reminder that these can just be right off our coastline. So very impressive video there. And then finally another one here out of Clearwater Beach. This is the sunset, looking like something out of The Lion King. A few clouds in this shot, very different from what we've got right now. I don't think we're going to have any cloudy sunsets anytime soon. I mean, maybe just some high-level clouds, but that's about it. Our beach cameras right now featuring those sunny skies. This is Longboat Key. More folks out and about on this camera than the last few we were looking at, but remember, it's peak heating time in the day, and that's where it's going to just feel incredibly hot there on the beach. Make sure you're staying hydrated, throwing on those sunshades and also some sunscreen because the UV index is going to be on the high side for the next few days. The red tide report looks good to go. No concentrations up and down the coastline, and the marine forecast for today also just calling for 1 foot or less waves in the open waters of the Gulf in smooth conditions within our bays and inland zones. The winds should cooperate for the next few days and not get much stronger than 5 to 10 miles per hour sustained. Wind gusts occasionally at 15 miles per hour or higher, but otherwise no significant change up in that wind pattern moving forward. Tonight, low temperatures get into the 60s and 70s for areas to the north, 76 in St. Pete, 76 in Lithia as well, Plant City and New Tampa into the upper 60s for you with more 70s as you dip farther south. Anna Maria down to Englewood, the low 70s, and then inland and east of the interstate, we've got Fort Meade, Wauchula, and Arcadia, all at about 69 to 67 degrees to start things off tomorrow morning. Your 3-day forecast on the screen. One thing that's missing from this are any rain chances. We typically have little percentages there in the bottom left corner of the screen. Not seeing any of that, and we'll have to wait until the very end of the 7-day forecast to see even rain just return into the picture. Here's what we've got, a brand new update of it. A 20% chance of rain is as high as I'm going moving into Wednesday and Thursday. Spot showers could be mainly geared along the coastline during that region, but still very far out to pinpoint that forecast. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to SkyTower Weather Now. Hopefully I can bring you some better news next week with higher rain chances, but for now, I'll see you again on Monday at 3 o'clock. It'll be Valerie.